intelligent talk that's sure to raise the IQ.
Here's Guy Wayman, Ben Brunson, and Frank Vernuccio, Inside the News.
Welcome back to Inside the News. We have got a great Section 3 coming up on our Segment 3, and you're going to want to stay tuned because it involves Donald Trump and the election. Not another show is talking about what we're going to be talking about in our next segment. But first, we've got something else we want to share with you. We've got Frank Vernuccio, Ben Brunson, myself, Guy Wayman. There was a person that just said, I want to go to North Korea. I might get shot on my way over. Ben, go.
Well, we have the spectacle of an Army private, Travis King, who was facing disciplinary proceedings in the Army for his behavior while in South Korea. Was going to do to be shipped back to the United States, I believe, for a court-martial proceedings, and decided to take advantage of an opportunity to sprint across the border into North Korea. And my knee-jerk reaction hasn't changed one bit from the first time I heard this story. There is a clear path forward. The Army should immediately proceed with a dishonorable discharge, followed by a phone call to North Korea that says, enjoy Private Citizen King. We hope he becomes a great North Korean citizen for you for the next 60 years, because we don't want him back. He can rot in North Korea for all I care. He imposed upon himself a penalty much worse than 6 months at Leavenworth, and that's a lifetime in North Korea. So he can enjoy it. Good for him. Stupidity has its own rewards, and he has earned it with flying colors.
Wow. Once you entered that S word, you know what, Ben? You can't fix stupid.
No, sir.
All right, Frank, your take.
Yeah, I mean, this guy was wanted on a variety of problems in South Korea while he's in the Army. There's no other word for it but stupid. There's not really much more to say. The fact of the matter is the United States government should not get sucked into this trap that the Biden administration has in dealing with Russia, where you have someone convicted or someone accused of some relatively minor crime, and then we wind up giving back in return for getting this miscreant back, whether it's the basketball player or, heaven forbid, this soldier who defected to North Korea. We start giving back Russian spies or make some major concessions to a government like Russia or North Korea. It's a pattern that the Biden administration has fallen into. It's ridiculous. And hopefully it doesn't occur in this case.
Yeah, it is strange because, you know what, Ben, I think you nailed it just the way it is. We don't want him and enjoy him. And 6 months in Leavenworth, he could probably have 6 years in Leavenworth, and that would still be a vacation compared to what he's going to get over in North Korea.
He apparently didn't understand much about life in North Korea, but we'll see what his future holds. But I wouldn't want to be in his shoes.
No, not at all. Okay, Frank, how bad is it really for Russia? We keep hearing things, that Russia's on its last legs and it's not going to it's going to be disassembled, its army's falling apart, but yet we still hear that they are moving forward, Frank.
Well, of course, China has taken up a lot of the slack in terms of commerce with Russia, so that has made the situation less dire than it would be. India also, unfortunately, has taken in a lot of trade with Russia. It's expanded its trade with Russia in certain areas, particularly in fuel. So to some extent, that's keeping the Russians afloat. But the reality of it is, at some point, the Russian population, as able it is to suffer through so much, is going to start wondering, when those body bags keep coming home, what was this all about? I have to go back to the fall of the Soviet Union during the administration of Boris Yeltsin in Russia, when there was a real future for that country. Russia had the opportunity to become prosperous. It had an opportunity to make its people, taking its people up to Western European standards, perhaps. They threw it away. I still suspect, although I couldn't prove this in a court of law, that Vladimir Putin was behind a lot of the nonsense that was said about Boris Yeltsin and his drinking problems and all that. There is a real opportunity for Russia to join Europe and the Western world and become a prosperous nation. They threw it away under Vladimir Putin. This is a continuation of that irrational policy where Russia has become nothing more than a gas station with nuclear weapons, as opposed to a prosperous nation state, which it actually could be. If you look at the population of Russia, they're lowering their population every single day because, frankly, there's not much to live for in the Russian economy. Not by any embargo from the West. Long before Ukraine, Russia's population was decreasing. Its chances for prosperity were going down. This is a choice made by the Putin government, and it's unfortunate for the people of Russia. It has to do with a lot more than just Ukraine.
Okay, how bad is it?
You're asking me, look, Russia and Putin and his oligarch cronies have raped the Russian economy for the last 20 years to the great disservice of the Russian people. The Putin will not survive this ultimately. He is right now imposing a World War I style death sentence on an entire generation of Russians. So they're wiping out an entire generation of males. And he's going to continue this war, I guess, until he's overthrown. And I think that day is probably in not too distant future. The Russian army is not advancing. They might gain a half a kilometer. They've amassed a lot of soldiers who can't fight worth a darn around Kharkiv to try to draw Ukrainian forces north from their desired direction, which is towards Crimea. But I don't think that's going to have much effect at the end of the day. The Russian ability to advance at this point is practically nil because the Ukrainians have so much firepower they can deliver, and they've gotten, all of these Ukrainian weapons crews have more experience than anyone on the planet at this point because they're firing their weapons 24/7. So they're pretty good at delivering their rounds on target. And that's pretty bad news for the Russians. Now, it's not easy for the Ukrainians to advance. The Russian army is not gone. They can deliver a lot of firepower in return. But the Ukrainians are advancing slowly but surely, and they will strategically win this war. It's horrible to watch because the outcome, as far as I'm concerned, is pretty obvious. And yet the cost to be paid is overwhelming on both sides for nothing. And, the sooner Putin's gone, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
That's Ben Brunson, and he's the author of the Falstaff, Enigma, and Esther, Sling. You can find him at Amazon.com, benbrunson.com. Frank Vernews Show. He's with the American Analysis of News and Media. You can find Frank at usagovpolicy.com. Fascinating discussion coming up. Stay tuned.
You're listening to Wayman, Brunson, and Vernews Show, Inside the News.